Did you know that an apparently harmless habit can have a profound impact on your life and mental health? Today, we will explore the truth behind this behavior and what Stoicism has to teach us about it. Masturbation is often viewed as a normal and even natural activity. However, how many times a day can you engage in it without being considered addicted? And what happens when you can't stop? Let's unravel these questions and reveal the hidden trap behind this act. Modern medicine states that masturbation is completely normal in humans and other mammals, but this view has not always been consensual. In the past, it was surrounded by moral and physical taboos being associated with immorality and unfounded beliefs about physical and mental illnesses. Society imposed a strong burden of guilt and shame on those who practiced it, especially for men and women who feared straying from their traditional roles. Today, although the perception has evolved and the practice is considered physiologically normal, many are unaware that the act of masturbating releases dopamine in the brain, a neurotransmitter that provokes feelings of pleasure and reward. This is similar to what happens during the consumption of certain foods or addictive substances. This effect can create a cycle of dependency, where the brain is conditioned to constantly seek that same feeling of relief and pleasure. Excessive practice can have devastating mental and emotional consequences, such as reduced ability to feel pleasure in other areas of life, the development of obsessive behaviors, and a sense of emptiness after the act. The brain begins to require increasingly intense stimuli to release the same amount of dopamine, leading to an increase in compulsive practices and a decrease in control over one's own impulses. Over time, this pattern of behavior can affect relationships, academic or professional performance, and mental health in general, fostering feelings of guilt, shame, and chronic dissatisfaction. The inability to control the impulse can lead to destructive behaviors and a loss of connection with more important aspects of life. Therefore, it is essential to understand the implications of giving in to these impulses frequently, and how philosophical practices such as Stoicism can offer valuable tools to combat this cycle. Dopamine is a hormone that provides pleasure and stress relief, being a vital component in the brain's reward response. This mechanism was essential for the survival of our ancestors, encouraging behaviors that ensured food, reproduction, and safety. However, in modern times, this same response can become a trap when associated with practices that offer immediate pleasure, such as masturbation, without a real cost or significant effort. The problem arises when the pursuit of this pleasurable feeling becomes constant and uncontrollable. The brain, always seeking rewards, adapts to the amount of dopamine released, requiring more and more stimuli to obtain the same intensity of pleasure. This phenomenon, known as tolerance, is a characteristic trait of many addictions, whether to chemical substances, food, or behaviors. The practice of excessive masturbation shares characteristics with other forms of compulsion, such as addiction to gambling, social media, and food, where the individual repeatedly seeks the release of dopamine to relieve tension or fill an emotional void. Neurological studies show that after orgasm, the male brain temporarily slows down sexual desire, which facilitates sleep and offers a sense of relaxation. However, when the act is repeated uncontrollably, the brain becomes dependent on this constant release of dopamine, leading to mental and emotional fatigue. This vicious cycle impacts other areas of life, such as the ability to feel pleasure in everyday activities, undermining motivation for more lasting achievements. In the long run, excessive use of masturbation as a form of emotional escapism can generate frustration, guilt, and a growing dissatisfaction with oneself. This chemical imbalance directly affects emotional regulation and mental resilience, making it difficult to cope with challenges in a healthy way. Additionally, the incessant pursuit of this gratification can isolate the individual, affecting the quality of interpersonal relationships. Constant attention to immediate pleasure diverts focus from meaningful interactions and personal development, reinforcing a dependency that compromises social life and well-being. The connection between pleasure, self-control, and balance becomes a challenge, highlighting the importance of philosophies like Stoicism, which offer a way to understand and manage these impulses consciously and harmoniously. Stoics like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius taught that true mastery over passions not only leads to personal growth, but is essential for achieving inner peace and true freedom. They believed that the ability to control one's impulses and desires is what distinguishes a virtuous and meaningful life. For the Stoics, masturbation was not just a physical act, but a constant test of self-control and mental discipline, a starting point to explore the limits of body and mind. Seneca argued that indulgence without moderation weakens the soul and obscures reason, leading people to become slaves to their own desires. The lack of control over passions made the individual vulnerable to states of anxiety and discontent, where the pursuit of momentary pleasure overshadowed the ability to enjoy life in its fullness. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of governing one's emotions and resisting impulses that diverted the mind from what was truly important. Compulsive addiction to pleasure-seeking can be compared to an insatiable thirst that drains energy and vitality. Uncontrolled practice compromises emotional and mental balance, creating a cycle in which momentary pleasure is followed by feelings of regret, shame, and emptiness. This cycle not only prevents the individual from experiencing true satisfaction, but also undermines the ability to connect with greater purposes, diverting them from a meaningful life. Stoic teachings highlight that self-control is the key to redirecting emotions consciously. Mastery over one's impulses does not mean repression, but rather a way to channel this energy productively and in line with personal values. Understanding that pleasure should be subordinated to reason was central to the Stoics, as they believed that the unchecked pursuit of immediate sensations obscures inner serenity and the ability to remain steadfast in moments of adversity. The Stoic view proposes that facing passions with awareness and reflection brings true freedom, as a person stops being a prisoner of their desires. Instead of blindly yielding to fleeting urges, they become capable of making decisions that bring them closer to a life of virtue and purpose. Finding satisfaction in self-control and the ability to remain true to their principles, even amidst temptations. Controlling our intense emotions and desires is a skill that can be developed through introspection, the practice of self-control, and strengthening the mind. Stoic teachings remind us that true satisfaction lies not in instant gratification and fleeting pleasures, but in the ability to maintain balance and find joy in the simpler and more meaningful aspects of life. This perspective goes beyond mere repression of impulses, promoting the idea of a life where desires are managed wisely, without letting them control us. Self-control is the key to living in harmony with our principles and values. When we make conscious decisions aligned with our ideals, we develop a sense of purpose that keeps us centered, even in challenging situations. This practice also reinforces emotional resilience, allowing us to face challenges with serenity and make rational decisions, without being swayed by impulsive or momentary desires that may divert us from our goals. Stoic philosophy invites us to understand that the relentless pursuit of pleasure not only distances us from our potential, but can also imprison us in a cycle of dissatisfaction and regret. By practicing self-control, we learn to value lasting achievements and build a life that reflects our deepest values. The ability to resist temptation and consciously choose a path of virtue and moderation brings us closer to true inner peace. Mastery over our passions leads us to a state of equilibrium where we can experience genuine well-being, free from the emotional fluctuations that arise from compulsive behaviors. This helps us cultivate healthier relationships, improve our performance in different areas of life, and stay aligned with our highest purposes. In summary, the practice of self-control and the philosophy of living with purpose and clarity make us stronger and more fulfilled, promoting an existence rooted in integrity and lasting contentment. Reflect on how you have dealt with your desires and impulses. Write in the comments, "I am a powerful person. I have control over my mind, and I choose what motivates and improves me." Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content that can transform your life.